big a break as we've had in the past, but this one was an unintentional break.
I think it felt longer because we were like, yay, like we just gotten back and we were ready to do the next one.
Yeah.
Stupid COVID.
So we had COVID at our house.
Yeah.
It sucked.
It does suck.
It sucks. We have never been those people that have said COVID is a hoax or just eat your vitamins. You know,
right.
We're just not those people. We're the people that tried to be careful and still
lived life.
Yeah. And then we don't have any idea where we got it, but we got it. But then again, we're in Alabama where everybody's getting COVID.
Right.
And we were very fortunate. We didn't have any breathing problems or anything like that. The state of Alabama has no idea that I had COVID because I just tested at home.
Yeah.
It's not official, but it sucked.
Oh, yeah, because they'll straight up call you.
Oh, yeah.
If you've been tested somewhere, like when I got it back in November.
Yeah.
Like somebody called, like a tracer.
Yeah,
called
contact
me.
tracing.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
really
it's
creepy,
weird.
Right?
It is.
I get it, I guess, but.
I mean, I know right now if I'm to say I love peanuts, I'd get a bunch of peanut ads on my Facebook, but still, like.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. The good news is now there's like at-home tests. $20, 2 in a box.
I did not know that until you told me. I'm so glad I know now.
It's the greatest. I have an extra one in my closet right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we should be good for the next few months, God willing.
At least.
God willing.
Like I had my antibodies tested like 6 months post and I was still good.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to go get them tested.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, everything is so up in the air with COVID. Nobody really knows how long antibodies last. And even if some people think after antibodies, you are still protected. Mm-hmm. But then again, nobody knows, like if I got infected, because I did not go get a lab test, I don't know if I had Delta.
Right.
Or if I just had the original variant or whatever it is that's going around.
Yeah.
So let's say I did have the original. Am I susceptible to Delta right away? Mm-hmm. You know, nobody knows.
Hey, and P.S., don't send us your emails about vaccinations. We don't care.
Yeah, don't talk to us about that.
Yeah, we don't
but
care.
I will say, COVID sucked.
It does suck. I've had it too. Well, we've had our own traumatic experience at our house as well.
Is it like PTSD level? Like, I feel like in our family we have PTSD from COVID because we got COVID and we were fine, thank God, but we didn't know what was coming up next. So we have PTSD. Is this like a PTSD level situation at your house?
Well, almost. We've got a beautiful daughter who's about to be a senior, and she just got the devastating news that she needed braces on her bottom teeth.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So
Senior year.
Yeah.
Captain of the cheerleading squad.
I'm Mother of the Year, and I'm not about making somebody perfect, okay? And I've seen these kids get braces at 6, 7 years old. They don't even have their full teeth in yet, and people are slapping braces on their kids. Now, look, if you have a jaw or a bite issue, again, please don't email me. I don't care if your kid has braces. I'm saying for my kids, unless it was something they needed for medical reasons, I'm not going to get braces for cosmetic things just because you have a little character tooth.
Right.
I'm just not going to do it.
Because that will cost a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Yeah. And, I mean, it's okay. Like, we aren't all born perfect. And so if you have a little crooked tooth, you're going to be fine. Like, you'll get over it. So Avery had a little character tooth. And she had asked me about braces before. And I was like, girlfriend, it's cosmetic. Like, it's not bad. And really, if you looked at her just smiling, you would have never thought.
I've never noticed it ever.
Yeah, nobody would say, oh my gosh, she needs braces so bad. Well,
she's so ugly.
She's so ugly with that one tooth. And so, anyway, she came to me and she was like, I feel like this one tooth is feeling like wiggly. I'm worried about it. And so I was like, well, that's not a good look to have like a hole in your mouth. So I took her to go get a consultation, and come to find out, she really did need braces pretty bad.
If anybody knows where I can submit Misty's name for Mother of the Year.
Yeah, Mother of the Year.
I will accept emails for that.
Yeah, so needless to say, she's going to have metal braces on her bottom teeth because Invisalign is not going to cut it. And she's going to get Invisalign on the top. She'll have those metal on for about 6 months. And so she got those put on, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday. And
this is 3 weeks before school starts, her senior year.
Thank God we already had senior portraits made.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but she gets in the car, and you would have think she'd been through like spinal surgery or something. And she goes, well, I mean, I guess I'm just going to have to learn to do everything all over again. And I was like, Avery, you have not been in a car accident. There's no paralyzing, like you haven't had a traumatic brain injury. You're going to be okay.
She's going to have to go to orthodontist rehab.
Right. You're going to be okay. And she just goes, you're right. I'm just going to have to learn how to do everything all over again. So if y'all see her walking up in the rehab facility, it's because she had to get braces on her bottom teeth. So,
you know what you could have done, Misty, is a lot like the leading person in the victim in our documentary today. And you could have also just removed her salivary glands.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what?
Her teeth.
I want to be like, hey, let me tell you somebody who's got it a little bit rougher than you, and that's Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I have never once confined you to a wheelchair, nor have I shaved your head and made you wear a princess tiara. So, congratulations.
I have been following this story since it started back in 2015 because it is...
Oh, me too.
Amazing.
It's
amazing.
Crazy at a level I never knew crazy existed.
Yep.
Let's just say that.
Yeah. Hey, so we started talking. We never introduced ourselves to people.
I'm sorry.
I'm Amaryllis.
I'm Misty.
This is On the Doc. And on this podcast, we don't just talk about our personal lives.
Although we do enjoy it.
Although we really like to talk about ourselves. We like to watch a documentary, and then we like to break it down for you. Mm-hmm. And this week's documentary is Mommy, Dead, and Dearest.
Yes.
It's streaming pretty much everywhere, I think. I know Hulu has it, and I know YouTube has it. Like, YouTube has it for free.
It's on HBOMax as well, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's HBO and not Hulu.
I think that's who released it, was HBOMax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's on YouTube, so if you don't have HBO, you can totally watch it on YouTube with no commercials. It's on there.
And also, Hulu did an amazing
That's what it is.
mini document, like, movie.
No, a movie. They did a movie
thing, and it's...
miniseries.
It's called...
The Act.
The Act. And it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's uncanny how much Gypsy Rose Blanchard looks like Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Oh, yeah.
The girl. I think it's Jamie King that did it.
King, yeah.
That's uncanny.
It's crazy.
It's uncanny.
Yeah.
Now, Patricia Arquette, is that her name? Patricia Arquette?
Arquette.
She played Dee Dee Blanchard. Now, she looked like a supermodel compared to Dee Dee Blanchard.
Yes, she did.
That was definitely...
That was a stretch.
That was definitely Hollywood version of Dee Dee.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same woman who played the mermaid in Splash.
But it's not. It isn't.
Isn't it? That was Daryl.
They're both 80s actresses and they're both blonde, but they're not the same.
They're both lovely women. I'm sure she could have played the mermaid if she wanted to.
I bet she auditioned.
I'm sorry if you got passed over for that role. It should have been yours. Okay.
All right. So, Mommy, Dead, and Dearest, you need to know probably... I would say little kids shouldn't watch it just because when we start talking about the actual murder and the reasons behind it, and then like when Gypsy Rose,
internet dating,
when Gypsy comes to life and
when Gypsy gets her groove back,
her groove back, you do not want the kids listening.
You don't want the kids listening.
Yeah, you don't want the kids listening.
Yeah. Gypsy made me blush.
She was something
and
else.
That's a lot. Heck, how about you stay trapped in a wheelchair and your mama bathing you in the sink for 16 years?
You've got some awakening
to do. You got some things you want to talk about, okay? And some wigs you want to wear.
Now you made me cough. Now I'm getting COVID again.
Ooh.
Okay, so, all right, let's get on this because we have a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
All right, so the very first thing that we see is the world's greatest actress, Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Yes.
Because she's sitting in the interrogation room and the cop who... I think the one thing I've learned is I've never actually had a really favorable perception of investigators and cops. Mm-hmm. I always feel like they have a narrative and they're trying to fit people in that narrative. Right. But what I have learned a lot from these documentaries is they really are amazing people that can get information like nobody else can.
Yeah.
So, except for the people over on Making a Murderer, they're terrible.
They really screwed that one up.
Yeah, they really messed that one up.
Yeah.
So this man could not have been any kinder to Gypsy Rose. He knew good and well Gypsy Rose Blanchard had killed her mama or had something to do. Yeah. So he said, now, Gypsy, we know that your mom's dead and we want to know what you had to do with it. And Gypsy, knowing full well that her boyfriend had killed her mama,
she said,
goes, wait a minute.
Wait.
What?
Wait. She's what? Wait, I couldn't hear you. Now, this is what I do when Philip asks me why there are so many Amazon charges on our bank account. This is when I say, wait, what? I can't hear you.
I can't believe that happened.
No. Who? Where?
She was something. She put her arms up. She was like, wait.
And then she covered her ears.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She'd been rehearsing this.
That's another trick I use.
Learned straight from the great Gypsy.
Straight from Gypsy.
Great Gypsy. She said she lives in, Gypsy's 19. Mm-hmm. She is, so then we go back to we start looking at her life, how we got here. Mm-hmm. So right now she's 19 years old, and the pictures that we're seeing, her head is shaved, and she's got this. Is that like the first thing you notice?
Okay.
This little bitty girl's voice, and she talks like this.
Voice is almost like a haunted baby doll.
That is the perfect way to
It
describe
is.
it. She's just like.
And I thought that voice was fake, but then you get to the courtroom, and she still got it.
Oh, I believe.
Don't you dare.
Angels among us. I'm sorry, I don't want to have to pay anybody for that song. But.
Y'all, why is it that the people who sing the worst love to sing in public the best?
What does that say about us?
I don't know. But y'all,
Yes, my favorite. Man, I
but
just
let me
could
tell
watch
you
her
something.
sing Angels Among Us.
Let me tell you something. If I have, there are people that I love with all my heart that I know can't sing, and in my own family, and I've told them to their face, you should make a joyful noise, but not for anyone else but the Lord.
Certainly not for me.
Not for me. It's not. That's not a public.
It's just not your gift.
Voice. Yeah. And,
It's just not your gift.
It was not Gypsy's gift.
So Gypsy was standing right over her. Like it's so orchestrated. I believe there are angels. And then Edie says, "You're the reason I was born to be your mama."
Okay, Dee Dee Blanchard is Gypsy's mother.
Gypsy's mom.
And let me tell you this. They pretty much are living off of the fact that Gypsy has
Very sick little
a
girl.
lot of ailments. Sick little child. And one of the things that they received, because not only was Gypsy very sick, but also they were Hurricane Katrina survivors.
Yeah.
And so
I don't know from where though. Like where? Duh. They're from Louisiana. Duh. Like I'm thinking.
I was like,
Mississippi.
did you not hear their family speaking?
Yes. I totally had just blank for a second because the people that I know that are Hurricane Katrina people are from the Gulf Coast, Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Oh, okay.
So in my brain, it was Mississippi Gulf Coast, but of course, duh.
They're from
They're Cajun
Louisiana.
people. Yes, of course. Duh.
Yeah. And so one of the things that they received, aside from many, many things, was this little house that
From Habitat for Humanity.
And the only thing that I could really gather from the decor inside is that the old 1990s ABC catalog had given them a gift certificate because they were filled with all the trappings of matchy Apple decor and things.
What kind of decor?
Apple decor. All types of fruit decor.
Fruit decor. Yes,
And
it was beautiful.
handmade paintings of Gypsy and crowns, which were also beautiful.
She had leukemia. She was tube fed. She was in a wheelchair. She had muscular dystrophy. She used a CPAP. Epilepsy, sleep apnea, gut issues, a muscular disorder,
Mental retardation.
chromosomal disorder. mental retardation. I was trying to find the entire list. I mean, there's this huge list. She was a very sick little girl, and so the community rallied around this family.
Yeah.
Which is really, really nice. I mean, just people want to feel good about themselves by helping other people, and this was perfect.
Yes.
Single mama with a young girl who has terminal disease. They traveled everywhere.
Yes.
They got all kinds of Make-A-Wish stuff. It was like, yeah, they were the poster children for Relay for Life, which is where she's saying Angels Among Us and all that stuff. Yeah. So then Gypsy is being interviewed, and there again, she's the world's greatest actress. She goes, this just proves that happy endings aren't just for fairy tales.
That's right.
How many times do you think her mama made her say that
Oh.
so that she would remember it?
A bunch. I'm just wondering where in the world they were able to get those Dolly Parton dresses made in her size. Do you remember those little Gatlinburg Dolly Parton dresses that you would see for babies with all the crinoline and all
like pageant style?
Like pageant style, yeah. Like where?
Well, first of all, she was 19, or at that time she might have been a little bit younger, but still, she was a grown young lady.
Oh, yeah.
But she was also really tiny. I mean, she had some serious stunted growth. So it's not like she was, Avery or...
And I wonder if that was natural or if that was a repercussion from all the medical treatments.
Oh, no, that was stunted growth. There's no question. There's stunted growth.
Starvation from being fed through a tube and,
Yeah, absolutely. She definitely was nutritionally deficient and...
And not being able to move out of a wheelchair. And
you could look at her, because when you look at her now, at least 5 years ago when this was made, her face is very different than it was
now.
Back then, because she's put some weight on because she's had some food.
Right.
And she's presumably taking vitamins, or they're trying to, the prison system was trying to fatten her up.
Right.
Because she was
Make
so
her
sick.
healthy, yeah.
And you look at her back then, she was not just mentally abused and physically abused, but she was abused in a way that
medically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was hardcore. She looks very, very different, and it's not just because she's aged.
Right.
It's because she's been given some nutrition. Right. Okay. So enter Nicholas Godejohn. Now, I know we're talking about the documentary, but I also can't help but think about the movie. Did you watch the movie, right? Or
yes.
The show, whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
It's like that whole thing, the way she met him was unbelievable. And then I was watching some interviews with her, and she would talk to him when her mom was asleep.
Right.
She had a laptop that I guess she didn't know about or understood about. I don't know.
Right.
And she
probably thought that Gypsy was so
naive,
like removed from the world, that she didn't know how to do things. But then you find out in the movie version, which I believe is pretty true, because they talk to the neighbor. She has a neighbor girl that lives next door
that
that had taken an interest and would hang out with her. So I'm sure this little girl would talk to her about Facebook and all these different things, and how you meet people. And so I'm sure Gypsy was like, well, when Mama Bear goes to sleep, I'm about to log on to fairytalesforever.com and find me a man.
Christianmingle.com.
Oh, no.
No. Or plentyoffish.com. Aren't those Christian ones? I know
Plenty
Christian
of
Mingle
Fish?
is. I don't know. I'm too old to have been on those.
Yeah, no, I know Christian Mingle is, but she said it was a Christian dating site.
I thought Plenty of Fish was a Christian one, but maybe it's evolved and it's not one. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that friend of hers, I think, had been on one of those sites, and I think that's where she got the idea.
Right.
And so she meets Nicholas Godejohn. Mm-hmm. Now, in the movie, he's played by, I don't even know his name. He's some kid who used to be a Disney star.
Yeah.
And the kid looks exactly like a guy I dated in high school. Like, I can't get it out of my brain.
Really?
Yeah, the kid looks exactly like him. Not the real kid, but the kid that played him.
Yeah.
But they begin this relationship that is far beyond what anybody suspected Gypsy was capable of.
Right.
Because what we're seeing is Gypsy's starting to realize, is this normal?
Well, it starts off very sweet and fairy tale like, and he's her Prince Charming, and she's his princess, and all this kind of stuff.
It's not reality. It's what she's, what
right.
is seen on TV.
It's what she's seen on TV, and obviously what he's scene. But then as they get more comfortable with each other and they're beginning to talk off of like the site, but just together.
Well, one time Mom discovered it.
Right.
And smashed the computer.
No. Mom discovered the first guy that she met.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So
we forgot about him.
She had met a young man on like a Comic-Con. She loved like
dressing up
and going to these different things with like anime and Disney. And so she had met this kid or this man. It was a grown man through like this Comic-Con kind of group chat thing. And she decided she was going to run away with him. And he said, okay, awesome.
Okay, so here's where we see how crazy she is.
Yeah.
And crazy is not the right word, but how not mature and doesn't understand the world.
Doesn't understand danger or...
Because this is a grown man with gray hair.
Right.
Okay, this man may very well have had good intentions, but any normal person would have said, step away.
Right. I'm not...
I can't go with you.
That's not a good idea.
Well, she was 19, but everybody thought she was 14.
Right.
I'm 14 years old. I don't get to move away with you.
Right.
So this is where we see she's trying to push boundaries, but she has no ability to understand
what situations
danger
she's put herself in. Well, so she goes and meets this guy. She gets a bus ticket.
Oh, yeah.
She goes and meets him. She goes to his house. Well, pretty quickly, Dee Dee's able to find her because she can track her on her phone.
Yes. They've got mutual friends.
They've got mutual friends. Yes. Like, they tell her what's going on. And poor Gypsy can't keep her mouth shut to save her life.
No, she can't.
Like, when you're locked up in a house 24/7, you're going to say everything to the first person that will open their ears.
Yeah.
So she runs away with this cat, and Dee Dee finds her, brings her back, smashes the computer, and handcuffs her to the bed for... Sorry, we're having feline difficulties over here.
I had hoped we could get away from ever talking about my cats
Sorry,
again.
we had a cat climbing the curtains. That unicorn stopped her real quick. But anyway, so when she gets back home, Dee Dee smashes the computer. She handcuffs her to the bed.
Yeah, she ups her arrest of a Gypsy.
Oh, yeah. And she's like...
She ups her game.
She's like Mother Gothel. You are never leaving this tower ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about Dee Dee in a second, too? Because...
Oh, yeah.
She cray.
Dee Dee cray, too. Yeah.
She cray.
Dee Dee real cray.
Yeah. So she went away with this guy who was 50 years old, and then her mom went and got her.
Yeah.
And she came back. All right. We need to talk about these accents.
Girl.
Dee Dee we just talked about how she was from Louisiana, but she was from Louisiana.
They were Creole.
They were Creole. Cajun people.
The most Cajun people I've ever... And because I know some Cajun people, and they do have a bit of I don't even know how you would... A Cajun accent.
Yeah.
But this is too, like, they
obviously... This subtitle's bad.
They gave birth in the swamp.
They gave birth in a swamp, yes.
I mean, I've never so thick in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm from Alabama.
Okay, so we started talking to Dee Dee's stepmother and her dad. And her stepmother did not think a lot of Dee Dee.
At all.
Yeah, so his dad's name
is Rod Blanchard. She said she was pure evil.
Say it again?
Pure evil.
Yeah. So Rod Blanchard, let me backtrack before we talk about Dee Dee. Rod Blanchard is Gypsy Rose's dad. Okay, so I wrote he's handsome and he looks like he's Dee Dee's son.
He does.
Mm-hmm. He does not look like.
He reminds me of Sean Penn.
Yeah, he did.
The way
look
he
like
looks,
him.
yeah.
He's very handsome, and he seems really like guilt-ridden.
He seems easily manipulated.
And easily, well, I wonder if it's more of a just lazy. You know, just like, oh, she's taking care of it. I love her a lot. I love my daughter a lot, but she's taken care of.
Well, and in some cultures, that's just how it is.
Yeah,
I mean, like...
And also, how do you imagine that your child's mother would do something like this?
Well, yeah. I mean, and also, he was a teenager when they had Gypsy. And so, he married her because she got pregnant, and then it was like, that didn't work out, and he just sends the checks.
He just sends a check. So, like, Gypsy would call him, and she would be like, "Hey, Daddy, I've got gut issues, and I've got leukemia, and I've got sleep apnea, and I'm in a wheelchair." And so then he would ask DeeDee what was wrong, and she would be like, "Oh, she's just got a chromosomal disorder."
Yeah.
And he would be like, "Okay."
She'd be like, she's slow. What? First off, I know you're not a special needs mother because you would never use that word, number one, DeeDee. But also, like, he said that there were also times that he would make arrangements to see Gypsy, and DeeDee would call him and say, she just had to have a procedure, like, we cannot bring her.
Yeah.
She made it very difficult for him to have a stable relationship. But I think that was on purpose because she didn't want him getting too involved, because he might start to suspect something was up.
That's true. But then I wonder, this really all could have been prevented if Rod had just really stepped up a little bit more.
Yeah, but...
I don't know that he's to blame. Certainly not. DeeDee's to blame.
Yeah.
But could it have been a lot easier on Gypsy? And, at the end, she sees him and she says, "I don't blame you. I could have told you. I could have reached out."
Yeah. I mean, but imagine if Gypsy had have had overnight visits with him.
Yeah.
And she jumped up out of that wheelchair. He would have been like, "Hey, what's going on here?"
Well, I tell you who would have come to her defense immediately if that had happened, and that's her stepmama.
Oh, yeah.
She would have, you could sense that she was really like,
she really wanted,
I can't understand how this is happening.
Yeah. And you can see that he and his new wife have
Who's
had
an upgrade.
Who's a way upgrade. Man, did he really hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
They've had a child together now, because you see this.
Yes, his sister,
the daughter. And so she's looking at this too and going, how in the world do you do this to your baby?
Yeah.
To your child?
I mean, Rod called Gypsy on her 18th birthday to wish her a happy birthday. And DeeDee said, she doesn't know she's 18.
Don't tell
try
her.
to keep that to yourself.
Yeah, she doesn't
So
know.
it's at that point that I would be like, I'm calling the police.
Yeah, CPS need to be coming up in here.
Don't you think that seems like a reasonable reaction?
I do, but I think he had let it go on for so long that at some point he thought, well, she's being taken care of and all these people are celebrating DeeDee as being such a good mother.
Yeah.
What will I look like if I come in and say anything different?
Well,
I mean,
well, there again. Now, if you say it that way, then it's still his fault because now he's worried about himself.
Right.
He's not really worried about Gypsy, and I think
Or maybe he
Gypsy.
thinks he's wrong. I mean, maybe he thinks. I mean, look, if I looked at you and I saw people giving you money, and I saw them giving you awards, and you're standing on a stage, and your own daughter's saying you're the best mommy in the world, and
you're singing Angels Among Us,
and you're singing Angels Among Us, and people are giving you houses, I'd start guessing myself too, and being, what kind of a monster am I to accuse you of something when, I mean, your doctors are saying it's true.
Yeah, but they weren't. They were just doing the stuff.
He didn't know that. Also, again, how do you say I have a strong inclination that this woman has Munchausen syndrome and don't report it to the police?
Oh, so there was a neurosurgeon who she went to, and he examined her and said, if a child or any person has been in a wheelchair this long, I would expect significant atrophy in her legs and her body. And there was some atrophy, but there was not anywhere near what we would expect. And he said, I do not believe this child.
She had
on the paperwork.
Pretty good muscle tone.
Yes, on the paperwork. It says, on the record, it says, I suspect Munchausen's.
Yeah.
And did nobody do anything.
And nobody called anybody.
And he said his hands were tied. Now I don't remember why he said that, but he didn't push.
Yeah.
I mean, and now we wonder why people don't trust the people that we're supposed to trust.
Right.
I mean, this young lady's life, she's in jail until she's, 40 or 38 years old? No, 30-something years old.
She gets out in the next 2 or 3 years.
Well, yeah, that's only because it's been several years. But, I mean, she's going to have spent 10 years of her life in jail.
She'll be 30.
And she will have spent the other 18, 20 years in prison, a different kind of prison.
Right.
If this one doctor had just pushed.
Yeah. And said, just go in
She
the
was
house.
failed by so many people.
She really
Oh,
was.
my gosh. She was failed by so many people.
A lot.
It's really, really, really terrible. But he actually said it. Like, he actually diagnosed it, and nobody did anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about Dee Dee Blanchard and how she got to where she was. I mean, it's not just because she was lonely. It's because she was really evil.
She was.
She was not a good person.
Yeah. And she has a nephew that talks
Oh,
about
I love
her.
her nephew.
That looks like he may be part of some kind of hip hop gang style pop group.
Oh, I pegged him more as a Satan worshiper.
Really?
Yes.
I thought he looked like half grunge, half gangsta,
Yeah.
half I don't even know.
Yeah.
He had quite a montage.
He was
going
definitely
on.
not a mainstream looking dude.
He was
but then he
not.
started talking, and you were like, he has some really good things to say.
Yeah, he said she
was
was
funny.
straight up crazy.
Crazy.
And liked to dabble in the black arts.
Oh, yes.
She did.
Well, yes. Now that's Creole stuff too,
Yeah,
right?
But she liked to dabble in some evil stuff, and she loved to steal.
She loved to steal. She had served time because of kiting checks.
Right.
Of not kiting checks, bad checks.
Right.
Bad
Writing-
checks, stealing checks.
Stealing checks.
Yeah.
And stole from
Her mama,
her mama,
her daddy, her sister,
grandparents.
her sister.
Yeah,
because
she-
that was this guy's mother.
Yeah. She had bled her dad's father dry, her grandfather.
Yep. So, what was it that they asked the stepmother? Were you sad, or were you sad to hear that she had died? Nobody could say no.
And nobody, so they sit there in silence for a few minutes, and she goes, I mean, we asked what we should do with her ashes, and they said to flush them down the toilet.
Her stepmom called her a filthy person.
She's a filthy person.
Yeah, she opened credit cards in her brother's name and her dad's name, and she wrote bad checks everywhere.
And I think they actually did flush her ashes down the toilet.
They probably did, because they were not happy with her.
They were not real
And then,
happy.
according to this nephew and the stepmother, both the nephew and the stepmother, she tried to kill the stepmother.
Yes! She was poisoning her.
Yes, she was actually poisoning her with arsenic. Yeah. She and they all believed that Dee Dee actually killed her own mother.
Yeah.
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 So this woman, she may have acted like she loved Gypsy Rose, but what she loved was the attention, and that's Munchausen's, right?
Right.
That's what you end up loving.
Yeah.
Is the way people treat you and the attention that you're getting, which makes me wonder how I don't have Munchausen's.
Yeah. And they said she starved her mother to death.
Yes, she didn't give her any food.
She wouldn't give her any food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and her mom couldn't fight back.
Yeah. Well, they asked her dad, they said, how was your and Dee Dee's relationship when she was younger?
Yeah.
And he said, she okay. We were pretty close. But then in the next breath, he said, we flush her ashes down the toilet.
Things had changed.
Things are a little different.
Things had changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why don't we talk about all the things that Gypsy had to go through living with Dee Dee?
Per the expert, they talked to a bunch of experts, which I wish they had done that before
Long
now.
before.
But per the expert, she was a hostage.
Yeah.
She was a hostage to her mom. And as a hostage, Gypsy Rose was trying to get out. She couldn't do anything alone. Like, her mom wouldn't let her do anything alone with her normal mainstream friend. That girl that we were talking about, if she came to visit, mom was always there.
Right.
You can't risk it.
Right.
You can't risk it. They show her.
She slept in a bed right next to her.
They slept right next to each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
She bathed her when she didn't have to.
No.
She confined her to a wheelchair when
Yep.
she could walk.
And so you get the sense, you wonder, I guess Gypsy did know she could walk. She said that during her interrogation. But there's that video of her jumping off their deck into the snow, and her legs are not moving.
Right.
Like, in the video, she's acting like, oh,
She's
yeah, I'm
been-
having so much fun. I jumped off, but I can't walk.
Yeah, she at some point was taught,
Don't move your legs.
don't move your legs. Act
Yeah.
like you can't move your legs.
Yeah.
And even they show this video of her when she's like 5 years old, and this is so terrible and abusive to me. She puts this baby in a cheer class where she has to lay on the floor and act like she can't move her legs.
Yeah.
Why would you put a kid who's quote unquote paralyzed in a cheer class and make her lay on the floor?
Can you imagine the sympathy she was getting?
Oh, yeah.
The attention she was
yeah.
getting?
Yeah.
The other thing that DeeDee would do is they did lots of publicity. Everybody wanted to talk to Gypsy. And they did a lot of public speaking, too, because...
And that's how she made her living.
That's how she made her living. Oh, absolutely. She held her hand as a means of control. So if you look at videos, excuse me, if you look at interviews, whenever anyone asks Gypsy a question, DeeDee's holding her hand. And if Gypsy does not answer correctly, and Gypsy said this happened at the doctor's too, she would squeeze her hand so nobody would know. So if she said something that maybe stepped a little bit too far, she would know, I've got to shut up or I'm in for it later.
Right.
Yeah.
She also accused her of drooling and had her salivary glands removed.
I'm going to tell you a little something about that. I'm so upset about that. I'm so upset about
cruel.
it. I don't know how she is able to I don't know if there are any salivary glands left, but I can tell you that I had COVID last month. We just talked about that. I have a CPAP machine, and I wore it a lot while I was sick because I knew that it would help me breathe better. And CPAP machines, if you don't have one or have never used one, will dry out your mouth.
Yes.
Really fast. And I would wake up in the middle of the night with my mouth stuck together because there was no
moisture.
No moisture. And that was temporary.
Yeah.
That was a temporary situation for me. I cannot imagine this little girl.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what she was. I mean, she's a young girl.
I took a medication that gave me dry mouth one time, and it drove me insane.
It's awful.
So another thing was that her mother told her she was allergic to sugar.
Oh, yeah.
And so she wouldn't let her have Coke. She wouldn't let her have anything that had sugar in it. Well, Gypsy started kind of seeing if that was true. And so she would sneak and she drank some Coke and nothing happened. And so she would wait until her mother went to bed at night. And, of course, she could walk, which we find out later. She's
not getting in her wheelchair.
Not in her wheelchair. So she would sneak out of the bed and she would go and eat tons and tons of sugar. And eventually, she obviously didn't have very good oral hygiene. She gets to the doctor and, like, her teeth, they said, look like Swiss cheese.
Oh.
Because the sugar and the amount of sugar she would eat. And I'm assuming she probably couldn't go brush her teeth afterwards because she would wake her mother up.
Absolutely.
So she would just crawl
or
back.
She maybe didn't really even understand.
Right. How often you needed to do that.
Yeah.
And so she ended up having to get her teeth pulled out. And, like, I guess fake ones put in.
I don't know what they did. They must have given her...
I don't think they're dentures because surely she would have popped those in and out at some point. But I bet they probably put in like those implants. Yeah. I'm sure some wonderful dentist thinking that they were doing a charity event gave her full, implants.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking how different her face looks now from how it looked before. And part of that is her teeth.
Well, and she says even in one of the clips where she's talking to her dad after the murder and after she's been convicted, they just did something to one of my teeth, and she's showing him.
Yeah.
So obviously she's still having issues from that.
Yeah. Now the state of, is it Indiana where they are?
I think so.
They're paying for that now.
Yes.
But she looks very, very different because her teeth kind of filled up her face where before she looked like this little gaunt, wispy
thing with teeth missing.
She had an unusual face to begin with, and so when you add all this other stuff,
God bless that mama. I mean, her daddy gave her that nose and that little tiny face. Like, oh, bless it.
I have to. Okay, side note. This has nothing to do really with what we're talking about, except for, can we talk about Rod and DeeDee together?
I think he got drunk one night.
Because they showed DeeDee young. They showed them when they were married. And she didn't, except for some weight, she didn't look much different.
But she looks 40.
She looked like his mama the whole time.
In everything.
So I wonder, I guess maybe he was just being a good guy, just a Southern guy that you get married.
Well, he said that's what he was told to do.
Yeah.
She got pregnant, and they said, well, that's what you do.
Married.
You marry her.
Yeah. And well, that's what you do when you're in the South.
Right. That's what people still do today.
Yeah. Yeah. And extra side note, I am not for that But
yeah, I'm not for that either. As you can see, it does not end well always. So.
Never ends well.
Yeah.
Actually, I know one family who it actually ended beautifully for, but
yeah,
that's
some it
like
does,
the exception.
but yeah, most often it does.
It does not usually. But I can't get that part of the whole thing out of my head because I look at Rod and he's so young. Like he's younger than I am, Misty.
Right. Yeah.
He's younger than I am.
Yeah.
And he's got this 30-something, she's not 30 yet, but like late 20s child.
Yeah.
And
because I think he was 18 when.
Yeah, he was 18.
Yeah. And she was older than him then. She
Yeah,
was
but I wouldn't say significantly
no,
older.
she was like 20 something.
But I look at him. He's younger than I am. He's very handsome. He seems to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
Apart from how he let down Gypsy.
Right.
He seems to be a really nice guy. And he seems to love her very much.
Yes.
And then I look at his beautiful wife, and she's something else. She's like, she's awesome. And she really is the one that kind of seems to be the one that pushes him to do what he needs to do.
Right.
And I think, what a mismatch.
Right.
What a colossal mistake.
Yeah. And you can imagine DeeDee probably made it even more difficult for him to see Gypsy because, number one, she moves out of state where he's not at. And, you know, he has this new wife who's beautiful and supportive and loving, and he loves her. And so she's probably, well, I'll punish you and you just won't see her.
Well, they weren't out of state until after Katrina.
Right.
So I wonder how old Gypsy was then.
It looked like they had been in Indiana a couple of years.
Yeah, they'd been there a while.
Because that house was pretty well lived in by that point.
There were a lot of donations in
They
that
had
house.
lots and lots of. She had a hoarding issue as well.
Yeah.
So
all right, so she, Gypsy had been held hostage basically, and she's starting to see her mother for
who she is,
the hostage taker that she is.
Right.
And she meets Nick Godejohn.
because she gets her hands on another computer.
She gets her hands on it. Well, when she got caught with the other one, her mom smashed it and threatened to smash her fingers. She got beat up basically when she came home.
Right.
From Vision Con is what they called it.
Right.
And that's just what she did. That's how she maintained control.
Yeah.
And through drugs, because all her drugs went through her GI tube, she had no idea what she was being medicated
She just
with.
put it in with her food.
Yeah. So she meets Nicholas Godejohn.
Yes, on Christian Mingle,
I assume.
a Christian dating website.
A Christian dating website, exactly.
Christian Mingle, do not sue us. We don't know if it was you.
We
or
don't
not.
know who you are. Yes,
Yeah, it's not your
I'm
fault.
sure you're lovely.
It's not your fault anyway.
Yeah, it's not your fault anyway.
Gosh.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, she immediately falls in love.
Yes.
Because she does not know what love is.
Yes.
And she just knows Cinderella and
Right.
Entangled and Disney movies.
And on the flip side, we find out that
Nick Godejohn
has some Asperger's, autism.
He's on the spectrum.
So he's on the spectrum, which I'm very familiar with. I have children on the spectrum, and where
this kid was not on the same spectrum that your kids are on.
No.
Or on the same side of the spectrum that your kids are on.
No, but where he struggles is, number one, he doesn't seem to have, you meet his parents during the interrogation, he doesn't seem to have a whole lot of guidance, and he doesn't have a whole lot of, they don't seem
hands-on.
They don't seem very knowledgeable about how to help him maneuver through life and through the world. And he seems to be very impressionable, is how I would put it. And he meets Gypsy, who's also very impressionable. Yep. And he has a very childlike...
His maturity, they said, was about a 14 to 15-year-old.
14-year-old,
And
yeah.
Gypsy would be about the same also.
Right, because not that she had any mental impairment, just from her social...
How they treated her.
Yeah, from her upbringing and how she was raised.
She went to second grade. That was the end of it.
Second grade was the end of her schooling, and then her and DeeDee were locked in a house together until then, so...
Oh, my gosh.
And DeeDee was hell-bent on keeping her a 7-year-old little girl.
What do you think the end game was for DeeDee? Because
I think DeeDee was just going to ride that money horse out until it died.
Do you think that she would have killed Gypsy?
I think eventually, yeah.
Because at some point, Gypsy becomes 50 years old.
Because they do. I mean, eventually, Munchausen by proxy, normally end up
They do things that end up possibly killing your child.
Because they have to keep upping the game to keep getting more and more sympathy.
Yeah.
Because at some point, oh, well, her just being in a wheelchair doesn't get me enough sympathy. There's lots of kids with wheelchairs. Now she has to have leukemia.
Right.
Well, that wasn't enough to keep it. So
Well,
now
how
she
long
has
is
to
she going to have
this.
leukemia, DeeDee? I mean,
Right.
is she going to go into remission, or is she going to?
Right. Yeah.
Is it going to get worse?
So they keep upping the game until they eventually kill them.
And DeeDee was this. She was good. I mean, she was very, very good.
Very good.
That doctor that we talked about a few minutes ago, she got wind of that report, and she didn't go back to that hospital.
Yeah, because, I mean, as a parent, you can order your medical records anytime you want to.
She always did.
And she did, so she could see what the doctors were writing about her. And as soon as she saw that doctor writing that about her, that was about the time they moved, and she went to a different doctor.
I will tell you that I know somebody who I've not been in touch with for many years, but he was a very good friend of our family's. And he had some difficult chronic illnesses, and one of them was kept him in pain. He was in a lot of pain. And every single time he would go to any doctor, he would make sure he would order his records. He always had a copy of whatever they said.
Right.
Because, and I can say this just from my outsider's perspective, he knew exactly the kind of drugs that he wanted, and he would tell the doctors what kind of drugs he wanted.
Right.
And he kind of had to do that thing that DeeDee did. You got to stay ahead of it.
Yeah, you
and
do.
know what they're saying about you and what your records say.
Right.
And then you need to find somebody new if they're not. Like, I know that he had a huge falling out with one of his physicians who would not call in a prescription on the weekend.
Right.
It's just having had a dad who was a physician.
Yeah, and they're looking for drug-seeking behaviors
Yes,
in these
exactly,
people.
exactly. And their careers, even if they wanted to help you, their licenses are threatened.
Right.
Because of this. This happened to my dad. There's a whole other story. And so you can't prescribe.
Right.
And I have a sister who's a dentist. She can't prescribe over the telephone. I've called her before and said, I need a root canal. I'm about to die. I can't get there till next week. Can you please give me some pain medicine? And she's like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Right.
Because their license, there's a database and there's licenses that they're constantly looking at.
Right.
So this woman was amazing at getting around that. So that meant that this doctor who dropped the ball on the Munchausen's, there was nothing to follow up on after because she didn't come back.
Right.
She found herself another doctor in another hospital. Mm-hmm. And she did that over and over and over, and she was able to evade anybody who even suspected.
And they would always say, "Mother is a poor historian."
Well,
of course she's a poor historian.
There ain't nothing to...
She has to keep changing her story because she can't tell you what she told the other one because that didn't work for her.
Yeah. So getting back to Nick Godejohn, he had that maturity level of a 14, 15, and she did too. So they had this sort of fairy tale romance where you immediately fall in love like all 14-year-olds do.
And to give you a little insight into Nick Godejohn, he got into a little trouble before he met Gypsy. He was in a McDonald's masturbating for 9 hours to porn.
There it is, folks.
Yeah.
There it is.
So...
Did he get arrested?
He did.
Okay.
And let's just say that would have been the tipping off point for me as a mother to say, maybe we need to do something different with you.
Well,
and
but DeeDee didn't know.
Kind of help you out a little bit. No, DeeDee
She didn't know anything about Nick Godejohn.
No, but his mother did, and his mother let him.
Oh, his mama. Yeah.
His mother let him just continue to take Greyhound buses to movie theaters. So.
All right, fast forward.
That's another one that dropped the ball.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Was that mama?
Gosh. All right. So another thing that happened was DeeDee and this kid were together for a number of months, and his ex-girlfriend
Gypsy
messages Gypsy and says, "You need to know Nick's not a good guy. This is what he did." And she didn't pay attention. She said, "Oh, it's just an ex-girlfriend." She mad
at me because I was so cute.
Yeah, so they had like this full-on pretend relationship online.
Yeah, and so they decide they're going to meet each other for the first time.
Yeah, before that, she was taking pictures of herself in costumes. She was sending him naked pictures.
Well, he told
while
her
her mother slept. It makes me want to put a Ring camera inside my children's rooms.
Oh, yeah. Well, he told Gypsy that he had... So as they start speaking off of this dating website, because before it was all, you're my Prince Charming, and yeah, I'm going to rescue you from the castle. That turned into some like, hey, do you know what?
Take your underwear
Do you know
off.
what BDSM is?
Yeah.
Okay. And so he begins to get very, as you get to know someone, you start to share things you've never shared with anyone before. You have this intimate relationship. And so he reveals to Gypsy that he has split personality disorder and that he has all these personalities. And could she create personalities to date these personalities?
And still, this did not flip a switch in her.
No, she just thought, oh, well, must be what it is like dating a boy.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't ask her mother. She couldn't go to her
no.
mom and go, hey, Mom, when you and Dad hooked up, like, what kind of personalities did he have?
Yes. Can you show me your costumes?
Yeah, like, how many wigs? And also, P.S., where in the world is she getting the money for all these leather bustiers?
Well, she said she scrounged up some money, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Scrounged it up from where?
What does that mean?
I mean, she had some very intricate
She had some
costumes.
stuff. And how did they get there?
I guess through Amazon. Again, Amazon, we're not blaming you. I love you. You're at my door every day.
We're not like everybody else that hates you.
No,
We
I love you.
Yes.
But I'm sure she would mail order them. I mean, she had the computer.
She had to.
Yeah.
I wonder how, maybe she got them delivered somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know those answers.
She probably wheeled her little tail out there as fast as she could and
Wheels.
scooped him up off. And
I got it, Mama!
that was the good thing about Dee Dee. She didn't look like she was trying to rush anywhere.
She was not moving fast
She
anywhere.
wasn't moving fast nowhere. She was laid up in that bed getting her toenails painted is what she was doing.
She had to go fix every single one of those curls
Every
in her
single
hair.
ringlet and find a matching dress. So she's
Oh my
busy
gosh.
sewing that extra lace and crinoline on to Gypsy's outfits for the next benefit.
Yeah, yes. So she was inside rehearsing Angels Among
So
Us.
they started having this very sexual online.
Oh, it's just
Unhealthy.
creepy.
Unhealthy.
It was so creepy because you see her dressed like Cinderella at a relay for life as this little girl, and it's just so unsettling to see
Yeah, and then
her.
the next picture, she has a knife held to her throat with like a red
Yeah.
wig and leather bustier on, and it's
Oh,
like,
it's
what
jacked
the
up.
crap?
Yeah.
But in her defense, she's not known what it is to have an adult relationship.
And she's feeling these normal things
Yeah,
that she doesn't know what to do with
attraction
them.
and
Yeah.
things like that, but she doesn't know what to do with them. And he's over here teaching her what it's about.
Yeah.
And the way that he's teaching her is,
Backwards, too.
I'm sorry, in my opinion, not healthy.
Oh, gosh.
And so she's just following whatever. And so he gets her into this whole domineering, submissive role. And
Which she's very familiar with.
she's familiar with. And so again, she takes on that submissive role, and he's her master. And so whatever he says goes.
Yeah.
And so they've been doing this online for a while, and he says, I think it's finally time for us to meet in person. And so
Yeah, it
she
is.
says, okay. And so where is just the best place for them to meet?
At a movie theater.
At the Cinderella live action movie
Yes.
at the theater.
But they could not sit together
No.
because
Well, first off, they went during the day.
they went during the day.
So, and it was obviously a weekday because nobody was in the theater,
Yeah.
she said, but her and her mother. And of course, she dressed like Cinderella because why wouldn't you at 19 dress like Cinderella to go to the movie theater?
I mean, she told her mama, I'm sure, Mom, can we go see Cinderella?
I want to dress like Cinderella and go.
And her mom was like, well, yes.
Of course, pumpkin.
Of course.
And then so she tells Nick
These will be good
Godejohn,
for a good $400-$500.
right, you dress like Prince Charming. That way I'll know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, they get in there and it's just the three of them. And I'll say this about Dee Dee. As strange as Dee Dee was, he tries to befriend her because they have to act like they don't know each other.
Yeah.
He tries to befriend her, and Dee Dee's like, get away from him. He is weird. He is in a movie theater, a grown man by himself,
Yeah.
dressed like Prince Charming. He's not sitting with us.
Yeah.
Don't talk to him anymore.
She's not wrong.
And so Gypsy's like, well, our plan's been foiled. But wait.
Oh, it's been foiled not.
Oh, but wait. I need to go use the restroom.
Did she walk to the bathroom?
Wheeled herself to the bathroom and jumped out of that chair and had coitus with Nick Godejohn.
I need to understand
in the
this.
bathroom.
I need to understand it. I need to understand it. Maybe I should watch the trial or something, because this is like the first time that I've seen that Gypsy is by herself. Like, her mom didn't want to get up out of the movie theater seat. And even if she didn't want to get up out of the movie theater seat, once she saw Nick get up after Gypsy got up, wouldn't you think something's weird?
Well, now, I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it's very intriguing.
I have
And
seen.
so she's probably in the throes of this movie.
Perhaps.
She doesn't look like she likes to get up and down
Very
very
much.
much anyway. And those seats are tight.
Yes.
And it's a walk to get to the bathroom.
I guess.
And if I had to guess, Gypsy was probably like, Mama, I'm going to be real quick. I'll be right back. I just have to use the bathroom. She wheeled her little tail out. And I'm guessing by this time, Nick Godejohn has moved way away from them.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
And it was dark. He could probably sneak out
I didn't
without
think about
her.
that.
You know,
Yeah.
there's different exits. And so they got together and had a memorable moment.
They were in the boys' bathroom.
The boys' bathroom.
She jumped his bones.
For the first time in her life. I'm sorry.
Can you imagine?
First off, they couldn't have had more than 5 or 10 minutes that her mother wouldn't come looking for her.
And that's a long time.
That's a long time, but for your first time, and she had to get out of all that Cinderella garb.
Look, that's what I'm saying. If 10 minutes would have been like, I know people don't like to hear this, but I let my children go to the bathroom by themselves.
Well, I don't.
Miss Dee, settle down.
17,
Settle
not
down.
going to do it.
I'm like, Nova, you're 6 now. You should be able to go by
Oh,
yourself.
God, no. No.
But if she's, obviously I'm watching the clock and making sure she's back at a normal time.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, 3-4 minutes, that's enough. So 5 to 10 minutes, to me, I would be like, she's been kidnapped.
Well, but she's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so she's probably thinking, well, she has to get all the way down there and she has to do all the stuff. And
She has
get
to lock
back
herself in the
she's
stall
to lock
and then
herself in
just
the
get
stall.
up.
And then just stand up. She has to make sure nobody's in there that can hear her, like, closing the wheelchair up. But, yeah. So, anyway, they have
she
their
jumps
first
his bones,
intimate meeting in that bathroom.
That is so difficult
And
for
then
me to
just comes
comprehend.
back like nothing happened.
Oh, my gosh.
How?
How?
I don't understand.
There's so many things that shouldn't be asked that need to be asked.
Right. Yeah.
That you know what I'm saying?
Pretty much.
Man.
And looking at Nick, I'm pretty sure it was his first time, too.
Oh, you think?
Well, I mean, if you're spending 9 hours,
But he had that ex-girlfriend.
but still.
And he was like, I mean, I know he only had the mentality of 13, 14 years old, 15. But he was like 19, 20.
He was a full-grown man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't even matter.
Needless to say, they got it on.
So what does that do to Gypsy's brain, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that immediately goes, well, this is my forever.
This is my forever, and I can trust him with anything.
I can do.
So what's the next thing Gypsy does as soon as they get home?
Is she,
She says, hey, I need to ask you something. Can you kill my mother?
yeah, and she tells him about all the things that her mother's been doing to her. And he's like, well, yes, I'll be your Prince Charming and save you. Of course we should kill your mother.
So she says, come to my house.
That's the only way we can be together, she says.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, it's probably true.
It's true. Yeah.
So she says, come to my house on this day at this time.
Oh. And we found out that she had just discovered that her mother was trying to file papers with a lawyer to have control over her.
Power of attorney.
Power of attorney.
Because she was 18.
Because she was turned 18,
Yeah.
and she was talking to a lawyer about how she could convince a judge that she was not mentally sound enough to make her own decisions. And that scared Gypsy.
I need for Rod to have power of attorney, not for Dee Dee.
Exactly.
She says, come to my house at this time and date. My mom will be asleep. I will leave a knife and
Gloves.
outside the door for you. Mm-hmm. And he says, I will totally do that.
And she said, let me get you a Greyhound ticket. They're keeping the bus in business, let me tell you.
I do not use airplanes.
Uh-uh.
And he says, I'll be more than happy to do that for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Except I have one condition. I would like to rape your mother's body when I kill her. Gypsy said no. What she negotiated with him. This is how.
Well, she said she did. It never shows if she actually did.
That's true.
But she says she did.
She does. She says,
in my opinion, she was letting this dude do whatever she wanted. She probably said, sure, that's fine. And he wasn't able to go through with it.
At that point in her life, realizing, looking back, like this is where, these are the weeks and months where she's realized this is not normal.
Well, I mean, and what in your head says, okay, well, stabbing her to death is fine, but raping her is not fine? Like, really, you're going to get a conscience then?
Well, I don't know. I think she's conflicted because she definitely loves her mom. It's her mom.
Yeah.
But she hates what her mom has done to her and doesn't see a way out. So
you think she just wants a clean way out?
Yeah.
And doesn't want to cause any more harm than she would have to?
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
I mean, that's just what I see in her. I could be wrong. She could be deceiving me, but I'm not usually wrong about anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So she negotiates and says, you can't rape my mom, but you can rape me.
But it's not rape because she just went and did it with him in the bathroom.
And if you say, yes, you can rape me, that's actually consent.
That's consent. It's not even rape.
It's not rape. It's not rape.
I mean, maybe he wanted to play out the scenario.
I guess.
And
so
she
he kills
said,
her.
Yeah.
He kills her. I mean, he kills her dead.
Kills her good.
Kills her good. And Gypsy talks about how she still hears her mom. Can you imagine hearing please like that?
And calling her name.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was, not to take a turn for the sad here, but I was in the room when my dad passed away in October.
Yeah.
And, it was a very peaceful moment. We were there as a family.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I think about DeeDee and how violent her death was.
Yeah.
And hearing if my dad had been crying or had been sad that he was,
I wouldn't.
It just would have been so
traumatizing.
Just the trauma. Yeah, just the trauma. So I would imagine because Gypsy did love her mother. I really believe she did love her mother. I don't know how she couldn't because
everybody loves their parents.
Yeah, and she had not developed those feelings bad enough yet. You know what I'm saying? She was not. She got to a point where she wanted her mom killed because, to me, this is sort of a movie scenario. This is how I get out of it, right?
Well, I think for the longest time, she really did look at her mother as this angel and this
Sure.
savior, and she takes care of me until she reached the moment where she realized,
I'm not sick.
I'm not sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had not processed things enough to really understand. My mom didn't really love me.
Right.
I think she really did love her mom.
Yeah.
I just think about DeeDee saying, help me, because she talked about it.
Yeah.
She said,
did
"Help
you
me,
hear her
help
scream?
me."
And she said, yes.
Yeah. But she got killed anyway, and they had sex next to her body.
Right.
What is wrong with these people?
It's so
Oh, my gosh.
upsetting and crazy.
They didn't just have sex next to her body. They left, posted some really horrible things on Facebook, and went to a hotel room and had themselves a full night of loving.
Yes.
And
Which
that's
they
on video.
videoed.
And that's on video.
And you, okay, so during the documentary, they give you some clips of this kind of Bonnie and Clyde escapade they go on. And they're in the bed enjoying the pleasures of the flesh. And they're saying some really gross things.
Very
adult things.
Pornographic things.
Yeah, pornographic things. And Gypsy does not seem upset.
Oh, no.
I mean, she doesn't.
She's free, Misty.
She doesn't seem like a woman who's second guessing what she's done. Anything happens, I go silent for days. Okay? If I accidentally forget to feed the cats at night, I can't talk for the next day because I'm so upset with myself.
Yeah.
It's like it didn't affect her at all. Almost the overwhelming freedom and joy of being with the man that she loves has totally. And I've heard of people saying well, you can compartmentalize things in your mind.
Sure.
I'm like, did she cut that off? I don't see how she could do it.
It had to be compartmentalized for sure, but the joy of being able to walk in public.
Yeah.
I mean, she walked into
I've never been abused, so I don't know what that is.
Right,
okay?
exactly. Me
so I
neither.
can't say how I would act.
Right. Right. And it happened to her so young,
Right.
too. It's not like, and again, she'd not had time to process all this stuff.
Well, and it shows how emotionally and mentally underdeveloped they are in their maturity, that they've just left this crime scene. Like, they've not tried to come up with a plan of, she's been kidnapped, to hide the body, to remove the blood, to clean anything. They just leave as is and think, oh, well, we'll just go back to his house and nobody will be any the wiser.
Well, they did think ahead, and they thought, we've got to hide this murder weapon. Let's mail it to ourselves with our return address.
They did mail the murder weapon, and then they put on Facebook, on the Facebook, I just killed this bee and raped her daughter.
Yep.
And
Said some
so
ugly things. Yeah.
some ugly things, so that the scenario would be, this abductor has come into the house, killed DeeDee,
Yeah.
stolen Gypsy,
Yeah.
but somehow in the midst was able to get her to give them their Facebook password so that he could write this stuff, because that's what the abductor and killer's really thinking about.
Yeah.
Not, let me leave a note, I need your Facebook password.
Yeah. They took the murder weapon, they mailed it to themselves in Wisconsin, which is where they were.
Where Nick
Waukesha.
Godejohn.
That's where he lived, in his parents' house.
Uh-huh.
And mailed the bloody knife.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick. You've got a package. It's soaked in blood. Put that in your room.
Well, no, they asked the dad. They were like, hey, did they get a package while they were there? And he goes, well, I don't really check, but yeah, I think they did.
How about Misty opens every package that comes to her house, addressed to her or not? Always. How about they wouldn't have got away with that with me? No.
Note to self.
I mean, I'll be like, hey, Avery, you just made honor roll again. I got a letter.
Congrats, you've been accepted to every college you applied for.
Yeah. Hey, Isaac, they've got 0% interest over at Nissan. They just sent you a flyer. I mean, I got it all.
So they sent the knife. They sent a rag with blood.
That they cleaned it off with.
And I don't know where they got it, but they sent $5,000 in an envelope. They mailed it U.S. Post Office, probably no insurance.
Well, that was Dee Dee's nest egg that she didn't put in the bank because she would have to pay taxes on it.
Oh, yes, of course.
So those were donations that Dee Dee had saved up. And I love how they wrote on their package, nest egg. Did you see the envelope?
I did not.
It said, on the envelope said,
Did they put knife I killed my mother
it said,
with?
our nest egg. So she'd obviously heard her mother saying, this is our little nest egg if we need anything, you know.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right.
2 killers from killers, bloody knife.
Don't show anyone this knife. If anyone asks, do not bring this knife out.
And then it said, fragile.
Okay, and then they're talking to Nick's mama, and she's blaming Gypsy for this whole thing. Did you see that?
She said, Nick does nothing. He loves to go to McDonald's, for hours at a time. Other than that, he's a good boy.
Yeah, she's like...
And then she tried to blame the autism. I'm sorry. Let me go on and give y'all a disclaimer. Autism and Asperger's is not what makes people murderers.
Correct.
It is not what makes people do awful, crazy things.
Yes.
That's not an excuse nor a reason. There is a whole community of people with autism and
Yes.
Asperger's that would never dream of the things that this kid did. This kid had some mental illnesses.
He had other issues
that
going
were
on. Otherwise,
going
we'd be
on.
like, there's another autism murder. You
Oh,
know?
yeah. Well, there's the autism murder. Please stop blaming autism and Asperger's for things. They did that with that school shooter guy. Oh, well, I think he had a little bit of Asperger's.
Okay.
Well, also, so does Bill Gates. And he's over here creating wonderful
He
computer
had Asperger's.
programs.
That means he can add faster than you can.
Absolutely.
All right, so at this point, we see the dad, and he starts, like Rod, her dad, and he's starting to blame himself now, like during the course of this documentary. He starts looking at, you see videos of her when she was little.
Yeah. But here's what killed me. Okay, Dee Dee tries to say that this baby has mental retardation. It shows a home video of this kid. She couldn't have even been a year old.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in a basket.
Cute as can be,
She's so tiny. And she's like, Gypsy, show me your cranium. I don't know what a cranium is. Show me your
It's your head.
your phalangeals.
Which she said wrong.
Which she said
Phalanges.
It's phalanges. Show me your phalangeals. Is what she said. Show me your phalangeals. And the little baby is like moving her fingers. I was like, that does not mental retardation make. I'm sorry.
No, she was perfectly normal.
She seemed exceedingly smart. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So they were going to charge. They obviously charged them. I mean, everything pointed toward, and nobody ever said otherwise.
And I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all, the police didn't have a hard time finding them.
Oh no, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing is that's why they downgraded first degree murder.
Yeah.
Because even though it was planned, it's a different situation when you're dealing with some
They said, y'all, this was
arrested development.
This was so poorly planned. We're going to have to take this down a second.
Yeah, it's just, it would be cruel.
It would be cruel.
It would be cruel. So they downgraded the charge to murder in the second degree, and she pled guilty, and she was convicted, and she was sentenced 10 years with time served. So that means she'll be 32 years old when she gets out.
Do you remember what Nick got?
Nick got life.
He did get life.
Yeah, because they did not say that on the documentary, but I went back and looked.
Right.
And a lot of people are pretty upset by that because of his development.
I'm going to say I'm not upset by that.
I'm not upset by it.
Because he seemed to have the intentions of knowing wrong and still doing wrong.
Absolutely, he did.
Okay.
And he was not in a situation like Gypsy was, that she felt no other way out of that abuse.
And he seemed to have zero remorse or feeling towards the fact of what he had done.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we don't typically throw the book at an abused wife
Right.
or an abused child even. You just don't
Right.
do that. And that's what had happened here. And all the experts came up.
Yeah, Nick
and
was
said
not
that.
abused.
But Nick was not abused. He got a mama and a daddy. Just because you're on the spectrum does not mean
You don't get
abuse.
you don't get a ticket.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he got life. He's never getting out.
Yeah.
He's not ever getting out.
I wonder if she still communicates with him.
To hear her talk, she's not a fan of Nick anymore.
Okay. I hope not.
No. And 32 years old is quite young. I mean, I think about my own life. I'm almost 50, and I talk like I'm like 100 years old.
Well, your skin says you're 20.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll be 50 in a few months, and I think 32 years was 100 years ago. So she'll be quite young.
And she'll have, for the first time, a real life. And one of the things that I did think about as we were getting ready for this documentary was when they said how old she would be when she got out, I thought, what would 32 look like if DeeDee was still alive?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Like, what was the end game for DeeDee?
Would she at some point, say Nick Godejohn had not come along and all these things had not transpired, would she have matured enough at some point to have a voice to just stand up in a grocery store and go, I don't need a wheelchair. Hello. Like, at what point does that teenage rebellion kind of kick in? Which I think is what was kind of coming. It came later on in life for her. But to the point that, I mean, y'all, I couldn't keep one of mine in a wheelchair. They'd be like, "You's a lie."
Well,
they would embarrass me at the church. They'd be
that's
like,
true.
"Woo, miracle, I'm up." She's a liar.
But you know what would happen is you just wouldn't take her to church, and because you would be exposed. And then the other thing was she had such control over how she was medicated,
Right.
that's the only thing that makes me think she could have probably kept it up forever, because
Well, she would have eventually killed her to keep her quiet.
right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, in one of my notes, I said 10 years in jail is better than what she was enduring.
Well, and they asked her, like, how is it? And she was like, oh, it's so much better. Like, I'm getting classes and they're fixing her teeth.
Yeah, she's getting her education.
She's getting to be around people.
Yeah.
I mean, make friends. And I don't know what kind of friends she's making in there, but
Well, I mean, she probably
Anything's-
attracts like people.
yeah, I
What do you
mean,
think?
she's getting to be normal.
I mean, I do
for
watch
once,
48
think.
hours on A&E, and those are some like really, not 48 hours. What's that one? Oh, well, you stay in jail for a month.
Oh, yeah.
60 days in.
Behind bars.
2 months, 60 days in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's called 60 days in. And
Well, there's also one called Behind Bars, Amaryllis. You don't know all the shows.
Well, OBS. Where is Behind Bars on?
It's on the History Channel or
Is
something.
it the same thing? They send people in?
They send like a news reporter in, and it'll be like they'll stay in the jail with the people for however long.
So it sounds kind of the same thing, but on 60 Days In, the only reason I watched it was because they did Etowah County Jail, which is where I grew up in Gadsden.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the 60 days that they did. And they send 5 or 6 people in to whatever jail they're at.
Yeah.
And they're law-abiding citizens, but they send them in as convicts.
Yeah.
So they become part of this community.
Did the other convicts know?
They have no idea.
How do they keep them from getting raped and things?
Well, that's part of the show, right? I mean, there's definitely cameras everywhere. There's definitely cameras everywhere, but a lot of times, like when we watched it, there was one guy that was like, "I'm tapping out," and it was when he was getting checked in.
Oh, girl, they wouldn't get me through the gate good, and somebody would look at me with a left eye, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
"I'm out."
And it's both men and women, and it's really pretty fascinating. I'm sure that they zhuzh it up some
Now
in
I've gotta watch
editing,
it.
but it was pretty interesting. I mean, the Etowah County one that we did, because
Yeah.
it was
There's also another one called Lockdown, and they
Oh, I
go
have
into
seen that
like
one.
the real bad ones.
I want no part of that. It makes me so scared.
She looked happy as a lark. I mean, her hair was curly. She finally got to grow some hair for the first time. 'Cause
Yes.
her mom had been shaving it forever.
She looked like a normal person because she did not look. I think part of the appeal for people was how she looked.
Yeah.
That might sound ugly, but what I mean is she was an unusual looking girl. I mean,
She
she
was.
was gaunt. Her face is unusual to begin with, and just not having any weight on
And
her.
she already has a very prominent nose.
She does, and then that
tiny,
voice.
and her little eyes are real close together.
Yeah, which she looks like her daddy.
She does.
She's actually a pretty good hybrid of both of them, but
Yeah.
she looks like her daddy. And so part of the appeal was how unusual she looked.
I mean, any skinny little thing with a shaved head and a pageant baby dress on, you're going to look at and go, oh,
She needs money.
she needs some money.
Yeah.
And Mama over there was definitely using that money.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's so awful. You know, they'd go to the doctor and she would say, "Don't say anything," because that's the other thing they said. Anytime she would come into our office,
Gypsy would just sit
Gypsy
there.
couldn't talk. Like she wouldn't let Gypsy talk. She held her hand, did that
Right.
thing where she would squeeze her hand, and she'd tell her, "Don't move your legs."
And if she did say anything, she goes, she's slow. She
She's
doesn't
slow.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So you hate to say it because it goes against our faith but the reality is things are a lot better without Dee Dee in this world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty
I know
much.
that's terrible.
It's terrible, but she was an abuser and a user.
She was an abuser.
She seemed to leave a real wake of
Destruction.
awfulness everywhere she went.
Destruction.
So, I mean, if I ever get to the point to where I've passed away and someone says just flush her down the toilet,
Then
I-
it's a good thing you're gone.
I know I probably need to be gone. Yeah.
So Gypsy gets out in 2023, I think.
Yeah. Now, what do you think
more years.
Gypsy's life will consist of when she comes out?
She's going to go live with her daddy,
Yeah.
and hopefully she'll go to school.
Well, I'm assuming she's probably going to get all of her schooling while she's in prison
Okay.
because
Well, she's first of all, she's got to get caught up. She's ended up on 2nd grade.
right.
So that'd probably take 2 or 3 years out of those 10 years.
But she
wouldn't
could
you think?
obviously read and write because she's doing all that online stuff.
Yeah, but did you see all her spelling?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Sorry.
Then there's college.
Yeah.
You know, if they can, I don't know if I don't know if all this, her development was affected, like if her brain was affected in terms of learning. So can she catch up, and while she's in there and she gets her GED, does she have the mental capacity for college? I don't know. Like, I don't know how that works scientifically. I don't know if she has the ability to do
Yeah.
that or not. Which it would just be one more thing that her mother robbed her of. Is
Right.
the ability to go to further her education.
Yeah.
But I think Gypsy moves in with her dad.
Yeah.
And maybe becomes an advocate for Munchausen's victims.
Yeah, I hope she does something.
I don't know how in the world she could possibly get a job with that famous face.
Yeah,
You know what
she's
I mean?
not one that's going to be able to blend into a crowd.
Yeah. I mean,
At all.
everybody's going to know you just did 10 years for killing your mama.
So most
or,
likely
or for getting your boyfriend to kill your mama.
She's going to have to do something that daily reminds her of the tragedy
Yeah.
that she kind of suffered her whole life.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
I really
too.
wish her the best. I
too.
think, I mean, this is not a situation
And
where
aside
you're
from the
just-
murder, she seems like a sweet girl.
except for when she was when she asked her boyfriend to kill her mama.
Yeah, other
Except
than
for
that, I mean, she
part.
seems like a sweetie.
Yeah. Anyway, well, that was fun.
All right.
There we have it.
There you
I
go.
had hoped that this would be a much more fun and really.
We're gonna do more fun one next
Here's
time.
why it wasn't hilarious. Like, the documentary is not hilarious.
No, it's sad.
It's really, really sad.
Yeah.
And as much as you and I can say some shocking things, we can't say the shocking things we want to say about this because there's so much tragedy involved.
It is, yeah.
So much tragedy. It's really terribly sad.
It's it's bad.
You know what we did not talk about is who we're giving shout outs to this week. I think I know.
Who?
I'm going to shout out to Ben Varner.
BV.
And also his wife, Meredith. They are having a baby.
Little boy.
I don't know if Meredith listens. I think she does, but I know Ben does.
Yes.
So we wanted to give him a shout out and thank you. All our bazillion listeners will probably be asking us for your email soon.
Absolutely. All right, Ben. Well, thank you for your awesome shout out.
Oh, yes. Ben went and reviewed us.
He did.
He sure did. And we didn't know
guys,
who he was.
If you're listening and you haven't left a review, you're not a real fan.
Shame on you.
Shame on you.
Shame on you.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you have to do with your time?
If we can spend our days checking to see if you have done a review, the least you can do is review it.
So rate, review, and subscribe.
So, like, the only way you can review us, though, is on iTunes. So if you are not an iTunes listener, you can't. Because I don't know if...
Then go download iTunes. It doesn't take but like 10 seconds. Y'all are so lazy. Get up, go download it on your little Apple pad, and review it. My gosh.
That's what I'm saying. Not everybody does Apple. A lot of people just do Google or...
It's that they don't.
Spotify.
It's not that they can't.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay?
Yeah, I guess you can download iTunes on your computer.
Hey, love does. So go do it. All right? Well, it's been fun.
What are we going to do next time? Oh, wait, you had said something. What was
It's
it?
a real buzzkill, so let's pick something
Let's
different.
pick
We'll
something
do that. We'll do that one another day. But it is a good documentary. But we're going to pick something fun.
Okay. Yeah, something really fun because I'm ready for a laugh. All right. I guess I'll see you at church tomorrow.
We'll
Don't forget your brunch food. We're supposed to bring. So Misty's So Misty's husband posted on Facebook today and sent out an email. He teaches our Sunday school class. He says tomorrow we're having a
baby
shower for somebody in our class for our friend Darcy. I don't know if she'll care that we said her name, but she's having a baby, and he reminded everybody to bring number 1 brunch food, and number 2 whatever it is, the gift that you're bringing. And so then I commented, do we need to bring food? I did not read it right.
And my sweet husband, who tries not to hurt anybody's feelings, said,
if it is not clear in the post above, please let me know.
And I will rewrite it.
Because I did not read the post.
And he genuinely meant that. So
sorry, Philip.
Oh, wow.
Okay, folks, you guys have a good afternoon or morning or whatever, wherever you are.
Yes.
And we will see you soon. We will not wait another month because, God willing, we will not have COVID between now and then.
And these kids are going to school. Praise God.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Now we can start doing things during the day. Oh, my gosh.
Woo.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.